بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We continue our study of Hadith 36 and I hope inshallah we can finish this Hadith today. As a reminder, the text of Hadith was this. Abu Basir says that I heard Imam Sadiq alayhi salam saying, لم يزل الله عز وجل ربنا والعلم ذاته ولا معلومة والسمع ذاته ولا مسموع والبصر ذاته ولا مبصرة والقدرة ذاته ولا مقدور. He says, I heard Imam Sadiq saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Lord, has always been while al-ilmu dhatuh, knowledge was his essence, while there was no ma'lum, nothing to be known. So even when these things were not created, they were known to him. And hearing was his essence when there was nothing to be heard. Seeing was his essence when nothing was to be seen. Power was his essence when there was nothing that his power would belong to. فلما أحدث الأشياء وكان المعلوم وقع العلم منه على المسلوب. So this was the situation before creation. And when he created things and what is known came to existence, happened, then his knowledge now belonged to ma'lum, and hearing to masmu, what is heard, and basar to mubsar, wal qudra ala maqdur. Then he says, I asked Imam alayhi salam, فَلَمْ يَزَلِ اللَّهُ مُتَحَرِّكًا. So does it mean that Allah has always been in motion? Imam said, no, God is greater than that. إن الحركة صفة محدثة بالفعل. Haraka is a quality that happens with action. قال فقلت فلم يزل الله متكلما. He said, okay, what about Allah being always speaking? Imam said, إن الكلام صفة محدثة. A speech also is a condition which is preceded by non-existence. ليست بأزلية. كان الله عز وجل ولا متكلما. There was a time, of course, when I say time, it's because of problem with the limitation of language. A stage, a period, not in time, that Allah was there and there was no speaker, or Allah was not speaking. So this hadith has, as you remember, different dimensions, and what we have today is actually a kind of building upon what we said before, how his knowledge belongs to ma'lumat, to the things which are known. We said that his knowledge in the essence is simple and at the same time has the ability to reach and include all the details. علم بسيط ذاتی, so simple essential knowledge, و کشف واحد ازلی, but at the same time a single discovery from eternity. So even when nothing was there, he has knowledge about them, but in a simplistic way. It means without divisions, without parts or compartments. He knows all beings as beings and all perfectional existential aspects are known to him, because wujud as such is perfection, and wujud, its ranks and perfections are known to him. این کشف در عین بساطت و وحدت تام تفصیلی است. This discovery, at the same time that it is simple and has complete unity, it's detailed. So there is nothing in this world and skies and inside the earth which is occurring and falling under his outside his knowledge. Everything falls under his knowledge. And then he says, این علم و کشف در ازل است و عین ذات مقدس است. This discovery, this unveiling, is in eternity, and it is the same as his essence. So in his essence has this knowledge. و معلومات به تعینات و حدودات که برگشت به عدم و نقص کند. Those things which have limits and borders, which means that they have negational aspects, then after they are created, God has a kind of knowledge about them. So he says, perhaps this is the meaning of that sentence in the hadith, فَلَمَّا أَحْدَثَ الْأَشْيَاء وَكَانَ الْمَعْلُومُ وَقَعَ الْعِلْمُ مِنْهُ عَلَى الْمَعْلُومِ. When he created things and what was known came to existence, then knowledge belongs to this. So he has ilm azali even before this was created. But if you want a knowledge which comes later and it is detailed and expanded and it has multiplicity, that comes later. So this is mainly the idea in this chapter. Of course, he refers to some irfani mystical terminology, irfan nazari, of course, about theoretical irfan, which I think might not be necessary for this stage for us. And then the next chapter is what is the criteria for sifat subuti wa salbi, affirmative and negative qualities. When it comes to those things that we affirm, sifat subutiyya, those things that are affirmative, so anything which is a quality for existence would be okay, would be a quality of perfection and would be affirmed. Subutiyya means we can recognize it and attribute it to God. So if anything is for existence, especially high levels of existence, can be also found in an absolute sense for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like for example, knowledge, power, will, etc. What about salbiyya? He says some scholars have said that all sifat salbiyya, all the negational attributes go back to one thing, and that is the fact that Allah is not mumkinul wujud. He is not contingent. His relation with existence and non-existence is not the same. So this, they said, it's the root of all other issues. God is not mumkin. So if we cannot touch him, we cannot smell him, we cannot see him, he has no space, he doesn't occupy space or certain time, it's all because he is not mumkin. So nafyul imkan would imply negation of other things. But he says, as you remember last week we said, when it comes to existential qualities, we believe that each of them has its own unique meaning. For example, Sami and Basir are different from Alim. We explained this last week. Here it's similar to that for Sifat Salbiya or negational attributes. Also, he says we cannot accept that they all go back to denial of Imkan or contingency. No, each of them has its own meaning. For example, if it's Nafyul Jahl, then you have to understand what is the meaning of ilm, and this is opposite. But for example, we have the fact that God is not deaf, for example, or blind. God can see, can hear. So we cannot reduce all these to denial of jahl. In the same way that we said Sami and Basir are different from knowledge, here also their opposite is also different from the opposite of knowledge, which is jahl. So it's better to say that we understand by these things separate things. He also says that, as we said before, the experience of someone who is hearing is the main thing. Remember, we said someone can hear even without his ears be involved. Here says also the same thing, that maybe someone, for example, either is hearing or not hearing just because of some engagement or some spiritual, situation, without body being different. Your body can function the same, but once you hear what you hear, another time you don't hear what you hear. So, for example, two people that are speaking, and I am listening, so I understand. And sometimes the sound is coming, but I am thinking about something else. Everything happening in my neural system the same way, except that I am preoccupied with something else. For salb is the same, for affirmative is the same. So it's better not to reduce them back to one central meaning. And then he says, بالجمله, as a conclusion, پس از آن که معلوم شد میزان صفات ثبوتیه و سلبیه میتوان فهم. پس از آن که معلوم شد, after it is known what are the criteria for affirmative and negative or negational qualities, we can understand that harakat, motion or movement, depends on quwwa. Quwwa and hayula in philosophy, we have said that means the first substance that has no actuality, is fully potential. So that is hayula. Then we have quwwa, which is potentiality. So harakat can happen in something that has potentiality. In Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't have potentiality. Everything that can happen for him has happened. Everything which is a matter of perfection is actual. So we cannot understand haraka, because haraka means you don't have certain quality and its potential and you want to get them. For Allah, haraka doesn't have any meaning. Takallum, in the sense of speaking, this also as speaking cannot be used for God, unless if it is kalam nafsi that we discuss in ilmul kalam, which in the end goes back to a type of knowledge inside the essence of God. Knowledge also, he says that knowledge is only or simply a matter of knowing and something emerging for the knower, for alim. Zuhuru shay'an lada al-alim. When something is present and is emerging, for the nur, that is ilm. Is it put inside definition of ilm that it has to rely on human brain? No. Or for example, nerves? No. The result is knowledge. And maybe a being has the result without going through this procedure and using these instruments. So what is the criteria? Is idrak makhsus. There is a special type of understanding that we call sam or basar, etc. And the instruments and the organs are not by themselves a defining factor. And he says that it is possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he wants to create something, he says kun. The Quran says إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. Whenever he wants to create something, he says be, and there it is. So he says this kun, which is said, and يقول له كن فيكون, should not be understood as verbal kun. This is existential kun. It's not that Allah speaks or creates a sound in the world which says kun. Sometimes in movies, for example, when they want to play the sound of an angel or a holy person, they create a sound or voice without any human being seen, as if this is created in the air. But in the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doesn't need to be like that you hear a voice, kun fayakun. Even for example, for the whole being, for the whole physical world, before that there was no voice possible, because for voice you need air, you need certain things. So this is an existential kun, which means Allah's final stage of willing something. When he wants something, we human beings, when we want something, then we say it. Just to make this understandable, that this is the final thing, and it's like us saying something. He wills, and then that happens. فإذا قال لكل عين أراد إيجادها كن فيطيع الأمر الإلهي فيكون ذلك. When Allah says to anything that he wants to create, he says be, and that thing obeys divine command and would come to existence. And he says there are many things to support this in the hadith that he says we didn't discuss here. And then he goes to hadith 37. I only read the translation of the hadith 37 to prepare our mind for the next week, inshallah. Again, this is also from Sheikh Kulaini in Al-Kafi. بِالسَّنَدِ الْمُتَّصِلِ إِلَى مُحَمَّدِ ibn Ya'qub. According to his own chain of narration, Imam Khomeini reports finally from Sheikh Kulaini, Muhammad ibn Ya'qub, the one who compiled Al-Kafi, and Ali ibn Muhammad عمن ذكر عن أحمد ibn Muhammad ibn Isa and Muhammad ibn Hamran and Al-Fadl ibn Sakan and Abi Abdullah alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says قال أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. Imam Ali alayhi salam said اعرفوا الله بالله. Know Allah with the help of Allah, based on Allah himself. If you want to know Allah, you have to benefit from Allah Himself.